I love coming to Reach. It sort of feels like a high school reunion, right? Like you see all these old friends and you think, if I aged as much as you've aged, I don't know, I hope not. I'm just kidding. You guys look great. And it's so fun to be here. And I'm really excited that I get to follow Greg, because I've heard Greg speak before, and I want to actually take off from where he left us and keep building on that. There's only one problem with that, and I'm actually going to have to hold him accountable for it afterwards, because Greg has this great line that he delivers in some of his speeches, and I wanted him to deliver it, and he didn't. And I think it's because of you and because of what he thinks about being in Utah. So here's his line. I'm going to do it for him since he didn't do it for me. He talks about that great idea of we should have clear yeses, right? We need to have clear yeses or clear nos. When I've heard him talk about it before, though, he says it this way. He says the things you do in your life, they should be hell yes or no. Now, for some reason, he didn't feel like he could say that in front of you all, but my boss is in the room and his boss is in the room, and I'm hopefully still going to have a job after saying hell yes, right? Because that is a powerful way to think about our choices. And the path of that essentialist is to say, I'm going to say, hell yes, this is awesome. And if it's not, if it doesn't spark joy, then that's a no. The challenge with this idea, though, that every time I hear Greg talk or read the book, I think, oh my gosh, that's so great. But if I'm only going to do the hell yeses, I'm going to have to say no a lot. I'm going to have to say no to another person. I'm going to have to look someone in the eye, someone I like, someone I love, someone I respect, someone that signs my paycheck, someone that writes my performance review, someone that talks to the person who writes my performance review. I'm going to have to look that person in the eye and say no. Or I could totally wimp out and write an email, and then the ghost of Celeste Headley would haunt me forever, right? So, I don't know, not good choices. Saying no is hard. We have a hard time saying no. I get a lot of emails from people, and since we've been doing GTD more over the last year, I've gotten more that sound like this. They're like, Emily, I'm overworked, everything's overflowing, like just overwhelmed and stressed, right? I can't handle all these things. Because you see, I'm just a people pleaser, and I don't know how to say no. Well, the thing is, I'm really, really fortunate because I have some people around me that are incredible at saying no. They are very clear about what it is they want, about what works for them and what doesn't work for them, about who they want to be in the world, and they will let you know it. And I know that some of you are sitting there thinking, yeah, but you know what? We don't all get to work at VitalSmarts with Joseph and David and Carrie. You know, we're not all that lucky. And while I have learned a lot from the founders of VitalSmarts about how to effectively say no, that's not who I've learned the most from. The people I have learned the most from about how to say no are these people. So I have toddlers. They're super cute, right? So this is Marin, who's 4, and Henry and Tessa, who are 2.5. So this is who I live with, and I hear no a lot, like a lot, especially at bedtime, which we also call the witching hour. We hear a lot of no's. But I'm not kidding about this when I say I have learned something from these kids about how to say no, because you know what is amazing about them? They have no fear. They have no fear of saying no. They are absolutely fearless when it comes to letting you know what they want and what they don't want, what works for them and what doesn't work for them. They will draw and set a boundary in their life, and they will hold to that boundary, kicking and screaming, sometimes in the aisle at the grocery store, right? But they're going to hold on, and they're going to let you know, and that is awesome. So what I want to do today, kind of building on what Greg said, is I want to talk about this idea of now that you've decided I'm going to walk the way of the essentialist and I'm going to only do these things, how do I then say no to all those other things? And the first idea that I want to share with you is this. I want you to recognize that you are already absolutely incredible at saying no. Every time someone comes to me and says, Emily, I don't know how to say no, I want to look at them and say, you are a liar. You are lying to yourself because you are awesome at saying no. All of you say no all the time. You probably say no more often than my toddlers do. Because here's the thing, every single time you say yes, every single yes you say carries with it a no, right? The no's and the yes in our life, they balance. Whenever I say yes to something, I am saying no to something else, lots of something else. But I don't tend to see those no's. When someone says, hey, Emily, can you chair this committee or join this team or write this report? And I think about that and I think, well, what are the advantages and the disadvantages? Is this something I want to do? Does this help? What can I do, right? I think about all the reasons to say yes or to say no to that one item. But what I don't think about, what I don't see, are all the other no's. The no's to getting a good night's sleep. The no's to lowering my blood pressure and my stress levels. The no's to the off chance that I might get home in time from work, in time to talk to my teenage daughter before she starts getting on her cell phone, right, with her friends, and I lose her forever. I'm saying no to the clear headspace that I need to have whatever that great next idea is that I don't even know about yet. But we don't see those no's because we've been taught. We've been taught over our lives to say yes to other people so that we don't disappoint them or hurt them. And instead, we've been taught to say no to ourselves and to bury that no so deep down inside that we don't even see it anymore. The yeses and the nos in our lives, they're like the ones and the zeros. Think about those ones and zeros, right? The building blocks of our digital world. The yeses and the nos are the building blocks of your life. Your life is going to be defined by what you say yes to and what you say no to. But the problem is, again, we say yes to others and we say no to ourselves. Let me give you an example. I had an experience a couple of months ago when I started thinking about this idea of how we have been taught to do this. So my mother. Has anybody here met my mother? I think some people here have met my mother. I know, she's amazing. She's this incredible woman, and much of the incredible woman that I try to be comes from her, right? She's just fantastic. So a couple of months ago, she was over at my house, and she was actually helping out at bedtime, again, the witching hour, right? So it's not good. And we're trying to get all these kids into their jammies and whatnot, and I'm working on Marin and Henry, and my mother is trying to get Tessa into her jammies. Tessa's 2.5. I call her, although not in her presence, so please, if you ever meet Tessa, don't say this to her. I call her the alpha twin, okay? Like, she's intense, right? She is vital and passionate and strong and intense, and she is going to be Margaret Thatcher. Someday, I swear, people are gonna call her the Iron Lady, right? If you think I'm intense, she's intense. Right? And much like Margaret Thatcher, and also how Greg was talking about it, Margaret Thatcher only slept actually 4 hours a night for most of her career. And that's Tessa. She would choose to sleep just 4 hours a night. So bedtime, not so fun. So here we are, right? We're doing jammies and stuff like this, and my mother's trying to wrangle Tessa, and Tessa's like jumping and squealing and giggling and running, and you know, you've had 2.5-year-olds. It's not fun. So I'm working on Marin and Henry, and everything's going okay, but I can see my mom getting frustrated. This is not going well for her. She's starting to get frustrated. She's running out of ideas to try about how to get Tessa into her jammies. And there's this moment where I look over at my mom, and my mom puts this really sad, over-the-top sad look on her face. And she says, oh, Tessa, it is going to make Grandma Mary very sad if you don't get in your jammies. And it was like this moment, and I was like, holy crap, my whole childhood just flashed in front of my eyes, right? And I knew with like this clarity why I had grown up with this crushing burden of needing to be perfect and needing to please and needing to never disappoint or make someone sad. And it was happening right there, right there. So I leave Henry, which is very dangerous. He was just hanging out, diaper half fastened, right? Like, whoa. But I walked over to Tessa and I grabbed her jammies from my mom. And I said to Tessa, I looked at her in the eye and I said, Tessa, Grandma Mary is not sad. And what's more, sweetie, you are not responsible for Grandma Mary's emotional well-being, okay? I was like, but you are responsible for getting into your jammies, so we're going to see how fast she can do that. 1, 2, 3, let's go, right? Now, I get it, right? Tessa's 2.5. I'm pretty sure the message about her emotional well-being, she kind of shoo over her head. But it was really more a message for me and maybe kind of passively aggressively for my mom as well, right then in that moment. But it's the truth, right? Because I want Tessa to know that she gets to say no. And yeah, she's 2.5, so there's consequences and outcomes that happen when you say no. But one of those consequences will not be that she makes me or her grandmother sad, because she is not responsible for my emotional well-being. I'm responsible for my emotional well-being. We don't say no because of fear. Fear of missing out, right? I liked the JOMO. Fear of missing out, fear of disappointing someone, fear of letting someone down. deep down core fear that somehow, somewhere deep inside, we are just not good enough. So we say yes to everything to try to prove that we are. We have got to get past the fear of saying no and start to see saying no for what it is. Because here's the thing, if you never disappoint anyone, if you never let someone down, then you are not living your life, you are living theirs. You're living the life they want you to lead. We need to start seeing disappointment in others as a mark of courage and self-definition, the mark, the evidence that I am walking my own path. Let me give you just another thought about this idea of no and definition and the way we frame it and how we think about ourselves with the no's. So a couple of years ago, I was reading this article from the Journal of Consumer Research. Fantastic periodical. I'm sure you all subscribe to it, right? Journal of Consumer Research. Anyway, these are the kinds of things that I read. In this article, there were these researchers, and they were interested in the idea of how do people say no and what's the most effective way to say no. And they were comparing a couple of different things. So they brought in these kids, college students actually. I'm representing them as small children because that's my life right now. But college students, and they gave them some coaching on how to say no to something tempting. In this case, how to say no to ice cream. And about half the students got a rehearsal on saying, I can't. Oh, I just can't, ice cream, no, Can't eat ice cream. The other half got a rehearsal on saying, I don't eat ice cream. I don't eat ice cream, I don't eat ice cream. And they rehearsed these different statements a few times. Then they were given some other tasks to do that were totally unrelated to saying no. And at the end of the experiment, as they were leaving, they were given a thank you treat, and they got to choose. They got to choose between a candy bar and a granola bar. Now, I know some of you are like, a granola bar is really just a candy bar in sheep's clothing, but for the point of view of this exercise, let's just assume that in this study, right, the candy bar is the bad choice and the granola bar is the good, healthy choice, right? Okay, so what did they do? Well, the students that had been in the I can't group, 61% of those students chose the candy bar. The students who had been in the I don't group, only 36% of them chose the candy bar. So there seems to be something there that framing it as I don't rather than I can't maybe helps you respond to a one-time temptation or distraction. But they wanted to see if there was a more robust effect to this. So they brought in a group of working women, right? Some of us in the audience qualify. They brought in a group of working women, and they asked all these working women to choose and start working on a health or wellness-related goal. And then they put the women into 3 different groups. And the first group of women got coaching on just say no strategy. Thank you, Nancy Reagan, right? Just say no. If you're tempted to go off your workout, just say no, I gotta do this, right? Just say no. The middle group got coaching on the I can't strategy. So I can't miss my workout today. I can't. And the third group of women got coaching on the I don't strategy. Right? So, tempted to miss your workout? I don't miss workouts. So then they wanted to see what happened, right? Can there really be that much of a difference? Can it make that much of a difference how you say no? Yes, it can, or I would in fact not be talking about this study. So I know, that was like a dumb question, right? Yes, it makes a difference. Here's the difference that it makes. The women in the just say no group, about 30% of those women were able to stay on track with their wellness goal throughout the course of the whole study, compared to only 10% in the I can't group. And what about the I don't group? 80%. 80% of the women in the I don't group were able to stay on track with their wellness goal through the course of the study. How we frame no, how we think about it and what it means makes a big difference for both ourselves and others in how we communicate that no to the world. There's a quote about it that I did not, in fact, commit to memory. Heidi Grant Halverson, who was running the study, she's the associate director of the Motivation Science Center at Columbia University. And how cool a job is that? She said this, I don't is experienced as a choice, so it feels empowering. It's an affirmation of your determination and your willpower. I can't isn't a choice, it's a restriction. It's being imposed on you. So thinking I can't undermines your sense of power and agency. How we choose to say no to ourselves and the world has a huge impact. And again, those yeses and those nos end up defining what our life is. So 2 last quick thoughts on saying no. The first one is this: speed actually really does matter in saying no. So David Allen, who you heard from yesterday, and I've been fortunate enough to work with him for the last 2 years over getting things done, he gave me a really great way of thinking about this. He says, when something comes at you, when something draws your attention, and you have to make a choice about what to give to that thing, what to do with that thing, you only have 3 choices. You can do it, you can decline it, or you can renegotiate it. That's it. This is not something to be like, well, what should I do? I have 3 choices: do, decline, renegotiate. And having that clarity of thought about what the options on the table are makes it so much easier to get to a quick response. So do, decline, renegotiate. The second part of speed in saying no is that you actually should respond quickly. No's get harder the longer they go out. And let me give you a little example about that. I kind of feel really bad about this, so I'm going to be a little vulnerable up here. I have this email in my action folder right now. It came into my inbox in November. I didn't respond to it. A really nice follow-up, very kind follow-up, let me emphasize it was kind, came in January, the beginning. I still haven't responded to it. It's from Brittany Maxfield, who works at VitalSmarts. I don't know if Brittany's here or not. Sometimes she said, yep, Brittany's here. Hi, Brittany. So, yep, I know that your email's there. Yeah. And Brittany's amazing. If you haven't met Brittany yet, she's great. She does many wonderful things at VitalSmarts in our marketing department. And one of those is she owns the Crucial Skills newsletter, which is awesome, right? How many of you are on the newsletter? Do you get the newsletter? Yes! It's way cool. If you don't get the newsletter, you totally should. Now, Brittany, back 3 or 4 months ago, wrote this very nice email asking me to write an article for the newsletter. And I'm going to be honest, it's not a hell yes for me, right? Which is why it's still sitting there. And so it sits there, right? Because I have a lot of projects, and I don't know if Greg McEwen is here, but yes, I actually have a lot of priorities, okay? Many, 20 maybe, or more. Priorities, plural. And so I have a lot to do, and this is just not a hell yes, and so why didn't I just say no to it then? Well, it's because every time I look at that email, it's like this little Gloria Steinem pops up on my shoulder. And she reminds me that I'm the only regular contributor to the newsletter that's a woman. And dang it all, Emily, get it together and rise up for the sisterhood, right? Come on. But I don't want to because I don't have time. So here I am, 4 months later on a stage with Brittany sitting in the corner who I don't kind of want to look at. Because I haven't said no and I haven't renegotiated, and instead I look at this email and I just feel like guilt and shame and all this psychic torment. So I'm saying no, Brittany. No, okay? And thank you, right? And you can blame Greg McEwen for it. We have this hard time saying no, right? And it comes from this place of fear. But here's what I want you to take away from my thoughts today, aside from the fact that my kids are really, really cute and it's totally okay to channel your inner toddler. I want you to take away this. This is a picture of my desk at work. And by the way, I didn't actually even have to clean it up to take this picture. My desk always looks like that because I took GTD and I'm actually practicing it. It's awesome. I'm way proud of myself. And yeah, thank you. And right there in pride of place, next to the large Diet Coke, is this little canvas block with a really big idea on it. It's a quote from a guy by the name of Alexis Ohanian. And Alexis Ohanian plays a lot of video games, more than I do, which is not hard because I don't play video games. But he must play a lot of video games. And for those of you who do play video games, you're going to be familiar with this idea of lives remaining, right? Because you start a game, and you have, 9, 10, 3, 8, whatever, you have these lives. And you play the game, and then you die, but you don't die because you just get another life and you keep going, right? And at some point, maybe you can, earn points and get another life, I don't know. But at some point in the game, you get to this place where the game says, lives remaining, 0. And that's it. This is it. As soon as you die this time, game over. So that's what it says on my desk. That's what I come into every day. Lives remaining, 0. Because this is it. This is the one life that I get. And that life, this life that I'm living, this life that you're living, it is going to be defined and determined by what you say yes to, but maybe more importantly, by what you say no to. So yes, channel your inner toddler. Let go of the fear of saying no. It's okay to disappoint. It's better than okay. Take that disappointment that others have when you say no to them and take that as the mark that you are walking your path and you are living your life. Thank you.